Dear students, before we start studying tenses, we shall get into the basics of grammar. We shall start first of all with the parts of speech, and after having a short discussion on the basics of the parts of speech, we will pick verb out of the parts of speech. We shall then discuss verb in detail, and then we shall move to the next topic, and that is subject verb agreement. Before we start studying tenses, we should have a command on verb and the subject and on the subject verb agreement or subject verb conquered. Now let us start with the parts of speech. You know how many parts of speech are there? 8 parts of speech are there, and we'll start with noun. Do you remember the old definition of noun? Noun, it's a name. It's a name of anything. Remember the definition? Noun is the name of a person, place or thing. Example, do you remember the examples? Ram, Mohan, cat, dog, Delhi, India, etc. What are the types of nouns? Basically there are 4. Common noun, proper noun, abstract noun and collective noun. Now we shall not go into the details of all these things. We will just study the basics. Now let's move to the next part of speech, and you know what is the next part of speech in sequence? Pronoun. Pronoun is a word that is used in place of a noun. Now let's have a look on the types of pronoun one by one. Number 1, do you remember? Number 1 is demonstrative pronoun. We are not going to go in detail on all these things, just the names. Second, interrogative pronouns. Next, indefinite pronoun. And the next is possessive pronoun. Then reciprocal pronouns. And then relative pronouns. And after that, reflexive pronouns. And now the next topic starts with verb. Definition of verb. Verb denotes an action. A verb is used to describe an action, state or occurrence and forming the main part of the sentence. For example, hear, become, walk, sleep, etc. We'll discuss on verb later in detail. Adjective. Adjective is a word that qualifies a noun or a pronoun. Now, what are the 8 types of adjectives? The 8 types of adjectives in English grammar include proper, descriptive, quantitative, numeral, demonstrative, distributive, interrogative and possessive. And a few examples of adjectives are tall boy, short man, long way, etc. Now the next part of speech is adverb. An adverb is a word that adds something in the meaning of a verb or a word that modifies a verb. Now let's move to the 5 basic types of adverbs. There are 5 basic types of adverbs in the English language, namely that of manner, time, place, frequency and degree. Some examples of adverb are fastly, slowly, bravely, happily, etc. Now next in the list is preposition. Preposition is a word that is placed before a noun or a pronoun, and it is used to show direction, location or time or to introduce an object. Example, on, upon, under, over, etc. Now the next in the list is conjunctions. Conjunctions are the joining words, for example, or, because, etc. Last in the list is interjection. An interjection is a word, a phrase that expresses something in a sudden or exclamatory way, especially an emotion. For example, oh, wow, hurrah, alas, ouch, aha, yahoo, and so on. There are several others. Generally, we use the exclamatory mark after the interjection verb. Now let's discuss verb in detail. As we have already seen that a verb is an action verb. Basically, two types of verbs are there. Main verb or action verbs. Or the other group is the helping verbs. Main verbs or helping verbs. Basically, the two main types of verbs are regular verbs and irregular verbs. Regular verbs are the common verbs in the English language that follow the simple pattern of reading or ending with D or ED at the end of the verb to form the past tense. And irregular verbs are common in verbs in the English language that do not follow the simple system of adding D or ED to the end of the word to form the past tense. Now how many forms of verbs are there total? 20 helping verbs. Total 23 helping verbs are there. Am, is, are, was, and were, been, and be, have, has, had, do, does, did, will, would, shall, and should. There are 5 more helping verbs. May, might, must, can, could. Let's move to the next very important topic, and that is subject verb agreement. But before we get into subject verb agreement, let's see first of all how many forms of verbs are there. Total 5 forms of verbs are there. V1, V2, V3, V4 and V5. Always remember, V1 is always the base form of verb. For example, work. V2 is the ED form of verb. For example, verbed. V3 is the ED or EN form of the verb. That is, for example, here, verbed. And V4 is always ing form. So, for example, for work, working, and the last V5. And V5 is always the S or ES form of the verb. So, V1 is the simple base form, second ED form, third ED or EN form, fourth form ing form, and the last form, fifth form, is always S or ES form. Here I have taken some examples. The next example is sleep, slept, slept, sleeping, sleeps. Next example, eat, ate, eaten, eating, eats, and there are several others. And I request all of you to please find out a few more words or verbs along with their forms. So write all the forms of all 5 forms of the verb, at least 15 in your English notebook. Now let's move to the next topic, that is subject verb agreement. What is a subject verb agreement? Use of verb according to the number of subject. Remember this, according to the use of verb according to the number of subject. In order to make people understand, I have used some examples. So please watch this very carefully. And these examples are: is, am, are, was, were, has, have, do, does, and s and es. Total 10 types of things are there. So in this you have to find out that this word is used with singular or plural. So is used with singular, and only with I, are with plural, was with singular, were with plural, has with singular, have with plural, do, remember this, with plural, and then does with singular, and s and es with again singular. So a few more examples of this subject verb agreement. Ram goes, Ram and Shyam go. So goes in case of singular, but go in case of plural. They are, but he is. We eat, but she eats. So these are some of the examples to understand subject verb agreement. So I hope that this concept is clear about subject and verb agreement. So this is just the beginning of the grammar topics that we are going to see in future. So in that sequence, this is the beginning, the initial part, and after this we shall move to the tenses, and after tenses we shall move to the determinants. So I request all of you to please watch this video at least twice in order to understand the whole concept clearly. And one more thing, that if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, kindly subscribe the channel now so that you don't miss any latest video, and also for that press the bell icon. And also I request all of you to please share this video with your loved ones. Thank you so much.